もう少しの辛抱だ。隙を見て必ず助け出してやる。
どうして？
あんたと同じくらいの妹がいるんだ。
Yusuke returned to Keiko's ramen shop, but his heart was in deep trouble because of Kurama's words. He had never thought before that demons could also have a kind side. However, under Keiko's enlightenment, Yusuke began to understand that good and evil are not absolute. So he decided to wait until Kurama healed his mother before returning the Mirror of Darkness. However, at this time, Botan suddenly came over. She told Yusuke that in order to use the Mirror of Darkness to grant a wish, the wishmaker must pay the price with his life. The full moon night came soon, and just as Yusuke was about to leave to stop Kurama, Kuwabara suddenly appeared. He wondered why Yusuke was helping a demon, but Yusuke did not explain to him. He just pushed him away and rushed to Kurama. And Kurama had already activated the power of the Mirror of Darkness. He stretched his arm towards the mirror and made a wish for his mother to be happy forever. Then the Mirror of Darkness instantly flashed with dazzling light, sucking Kurama into it. Yusuke rushed into the bundle of light upon seeing this, despite Kuwabara trying to stop him. In the space of the mirror, Kurama found Yusuke and tried to ask him to stop intervening, but Yusuke insisted that the happiness he exchanged with his life wouldn't make his mother truly happy. When Yusuke learned that his death had caused his mother extreme sadness, it was something he would never forget. Therefore, he decided to dedicate half of his life, along with the other half of life that Kurama sacrificed, to trade with the Mirror of Darkness. When they were released, Kuwabara immediately went to Yusuke's side and helped him up. At this time, the woman lying in the bed also opened her eyes and took off her breathing mask. Looking at his mother's health being restored, Kurama was filled with tears. This scene made Kuwabara realize that there is also kindness in demons. He felt sorry for his past prejudices and then apologized to Yusuke. When the two of them left the hospital, Hiei, one of the three major demons, was standing on the rooftop. He took off the cloth on his forehead and put a tear of ice in front of his third eye. Following the scent, he locked onto a car. Then he leapt from the rooftop, rushed to the car, and split it in half with a single stroke. He targeted the driver and swung his sword again, breaking open the box, inside of which was a tear of ice. Soon after, the news of the stolen tear of ice reached Tarukane. Upon learning that demons were also involved, Tarukane, although greedy, was equally afraid of losing his life, so he immediately contacted Sakyo. Turns out that Yukina was indeed what Tarukane had bought from Sakyo, and he decided to return her and cancel the previous deal. While Sakyo apologized to Tarukane, he dispatched Toguro to protect him. He also wants to regain the last secret treasure, the Conjuring Blade, from Hiei.
Toguro. 面白い案件だといいけどね.
According to the clue from Kurama, Yusuke quietly sneaked into Tarukane's mansion. Sure enough, Hiei, who was holding the Conjuring Blade, was there, and the strength of the bodyguards alone was far from enough to deal with him. For Hiei, the reason Tarukane became his target was that he had once imprisoned Hiei's sister, Yukina. However, Hiei learned from one of the bodyguards that he was a step too late, and Yukina had been transferred by Tarukane. He was about to kill a few bodyguards to vent his anger when Yusuke arrived just in time to stop him. Hiei was aware of Yusuke's identity and didn't want Yusuke to interfere with his search for his sister, but Yusuke took the initiative to attack. Hiei fended off Yusuke with the hilt of his sword and then vanished. Yusuke prepared to use the spirit gun to attack, but the next second he had a scabbard against his throat. Hiei told Yusuke that he wouldn't draw a sword for a human, and then left. At this time, Yukina had been taken to Sakyo's base camp, and Sakyo personally received Tarukane. In order to prove his strength, Sakyo released a monster and let him fight Toguro, but the demon couldn't take even a single punch from Toguro. Tarukane witnessed this scene and finally relaxed, preparing to transfer Yukina to the prison. However, they found out that Yukina had disappeared, which shocked Tarukane. It turned out that Tarukane's subordinates had secretly released Yukina and planned to take her away by helicopter, but Toguro had been waiting for them in a plane. Yet bullets had no effect on him, and his head recovered quickly. Yukina was captured again, and because of the death of the bodyguard, she shed a lot of tear of ice. This made Tarakane very happy, but in order to feel completely at ease, Hiei and Yusuke must be eliminated. Yusuke, unaware that danger was quietly approaching, felt troubled due to the difference in strength between him and Hiei. Botan tells him that she can take him to practice, but this conversation is also overheard by Kuwabara. Due to a previous incident, all of Kuwabara's subordinates were seriously injured, for which he felt guilty. After learning about the existence of monsters, he decided to follow Yusuke to practice in order to protect his men. Thus, Botan leads the two of them to a secluded place. The master of this place is named Genkai. Seeing the endless bickering between Kuwabara and Yusuke, Genkai makes them quiet down. Feeling the power of Genkai, Yusuke finally agrees to train. But what surprises him is that Genkai's training task for him is to concentrate his spiritual power at his fingertips and stand upside down for 12 hours. Yusuke believes this is impossible and complains that this training is meaningless. Genkai sees that Yusuke doesn't understand the mystery in it, so she asks him to try to attack her. Upon hearing this, Yusuke rushes at Genkai to attack her. However, even if Genkai doesn't use her hands, Yusuke can't touch Genkai. Surprisingly, Yusuke miraculously replicates a move that Genkai had used. Genkai appreciates this and believes that Yusuke has the potential to defend the human world if he trains well. So Genkai stopped his actions and then threw the walnuts in her hand towards Yusuke. As Yusuke falls, Genkai steps on his chest. Only such a blow will make Yusuke change his impulsive nature. Kuwabara's training is also tough. Genkai asks him to chop large rocks with a wooden sword. Kuwabara, like a tireless machine, keeps swinging his sword at the large rock. Seeing this, Yusuke can't help laughing, thinking that Kuwabara is being tricked. But Kuwabara doesn't give up and continues to swing his sword without any complaints. Meanwhile, Sakyo is constructing a huge machine at the bottom of the pit. He plans to expand the space rift, allowing more monsters to enter the human world. This makes Toguro very excited, as he is tired of days without opponents. 14 days later, Yusuke's training became more difficult, changing from the original handstand on the ground to the handstand on a cone. But he can't last 12 hours, which makes him feel very frustrated. When Yusuke goes out and sees that Kuwabara is still persisting in his practice, there are countless broken swords scattered on the ground, all of them stained with blood. Even if his palm has been vibrated into a bloody mess, Kuwabara has not given up. Seeing Kuwabara complete his training, Yusuke began to feel anxious. He ran back to the training room overnight and continued his training. Eventually, on the 20th day, Yusuke finally met Genkai's requirements. Genkai passed her secret technique, the Spirit Wave Punch, on to Yusuke. Yusuke focused all his spiritual power on his fingertips, and a powerful force blasted out, piercing directly through the clouds. This familiar energy wave was felt by younger Toguro in the distance. Elder Toguro looked forward to what would happen next. At the same time, the startled birds in the forest made a serious expression appear on Genkai's face. She realized that the use of the Spirit Wave Fist would attract Toguro's attention, but for the sake of inheritance, she had to do so. Before Yusuke left, Genkai gave him a treasure and sent the three of them away. Afterwards, Genkai stood in place, waiting for her destiny. In the evening, younger Toguro came looking for her. 50 years ago, they practiced together in the same sect. Genkai had grown old, but younger Toguro had not changed at all. When he learned that the Aura Ball was no longer with Genkai, he killed Genkai with all his strength. On the other side, Yusuke, who had returned to the ramen shop, suddenly found that Keiko was taken away by Hiei, and he immediately started tracking. Upon reaching a factory, they immediately fought. Compared to their last fight, they fought evenly this time, and Hiei's speed was no longer advantageous. Even when facing humans, he had to unsheath his sword. Yusuke took his chance, and a spirit gun hit Hiei. Just as they were about to fight again, Kurama arrived in time to stop them. He told Yusuke that the current Hiei was actually Elder Toguro in disguise. Keiko and Yukina had been locked up on a yacht. His obvious aim was for Yusuke and Hiei to deplete each other. But due to Kurama's timely appearance, Yusuke had already apologized to Hiei, and the two planned to join forces to rescue Keiko and Yukina. In the end, Kuwabara also joined them. They arrived at the ferry, and Sakyo's subordinates were already waiting there.
お待ちしておりました。皆様を首くくり島へご招待するよう主人から仰せつかっております。
When the ship docked, Hiei was extremely anxious to rescue his sister, so he was the first to leave the group. At this time, Yusuke and the other two walked into the warehouse. A beast named Karasu suddenly appeared behind Kurama. Kurama uses the long whip to force Karasu back. He told Yusuke and Kuwabara to leave first, and he would deal with Karasu. Realizing the urgency of time, Yusuke did not hesitate and left with Kuwabara. Kurama used his whip to fight back. However, when Karasu launched an invisible air cannon, Kurama was instantly in a difficult situation. Karasu asked Kurama to drop his human disguise and confront him with his real identity. However, Kurama firmly refused, and under Karasu's fierce attack, he could only dodge around. Hiei acted alone and met a black armored warrior carrying a large axe. Although Hiei did not want to fight, Bui did not give him a way out. Faced with this situation, Hiei had to fight. Despite holding a giant axe, Bui moved at an astonishing speed, and the destructive power of his axe was even more astonishing. Hiei found it very hard to compete with Bui head-on and soon found himself in danger. At this time, Yusuke and Kuwabara had arrived at the entrance of the underground prison. The structure here was like a complex maze, so they decided to split up. At this time, Kurama was accidentally attacked and was instantly at a disadvantage. When he saw Karasu preparing to launch a more powerful attack, Kurama did not restore his true form, but threw a rose. The petals scattered and quickly ignited the floating bombs in the air. Then he threw a second rose, and Karasu was forced to block it with his hand. The pain in his palm made him even more angry. Under his fierce attack, Kurama eventually reverted back to his real form. As it turns out, he is a white fox capable of manipulating demonic plants. Kurama summoned the demonic mimosa and easily resisted all Karasu's attacks. He told Karasu that this plant would automatically attack moving objects, and if he didn't want to die, he should stay still. However, Karasu didn't take it to heart. He had no choice but to dodge under the attack of Mimosa, and finally got entangled in the stems and leaves of Mimosa. Unfortunately, using Mimosa requires a lot of demon power, and Kurama no longer had enough power to drive it to kill Karasu. Karasu broke free and blew Kurama away, causing him to return to his human form. As Karasu prepared to end the fight, Kurama suddenly started laughing. During their combat, he had managed to implant a seed into Karasu's body. By uttering a specific incantation, the seed would instantly grow and pierce Karasu's body. At the same time, Hiei was gradually getting the upper hand in his battle with Bui. Bui wore armor, and Hiei's attacks were ineffective. Seizing the opportunity, Hiei directly knocked off Bui's helmet. However, Bui was not an easy opponent. He immediately took off his armor and fought with Hiei. After a fierce battle, Hiei's sword was knocked out by Bui. As Bui thought he had successfully dealt with his opponent and was about to turn and leave, Hiei stood up again. He tore off a sleeve from his arm to reveal a bandaged right arm. This power he sealed was supposed to be used at the final moment, but now the situation is critical, and he is forced to unseal it ahead of time. As the bandage was removed, a surge of black energy exploded in an instant, circling around Hiei. Seeing this, Bui immediately rushed towards Hiei.